Test, 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 test. 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 Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test.
Hello, everybody. We good to go? Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Eugene's February 6, 2026 program, A History of Exclusion, the Black Eugene Experience, and the Black Cultural Initiative. My name is Thomas Hura. I serve as president of City Club, and it's my honor to welcome you to another of the many forums we've held since 1990 in the name of our mission to build community vision through open inquiry. City Club is fortunate to be a trusted, open, and independent voice for Eugene area community members to be heard. And as a lifelong Eugenian, I believe the community is fortunate to have the City Club, but particularly to hear from our program guests and questions from the audience, whether here in the beautiful Wow Hall, online, or over the radio. Anyone who attends a City Club forum has equal access to asking questions in our space. We believe these gatherings and broadcasts around critical community topics strengthen our understanding of one another and ultimately our ability to support the community building work in so many sectors of Eugene. In today's fractured information landscape, we want to be a place where you can participate in unearthing, disseminating, and sharing relevant information in conversation together. We would love for you to browse our past programs at cityclubofeugene.org or our YouTube or Facebook. Please consider becoming a member if you'd like to support our rigorous volunteer work as Oregon's only city club that has a weekly forum schedule. There are many ways to partner with us, and I'd like to thank our Diamond community sponsors. The University of Oregon has helped Oregonians question critically, think logically, reason effectively, communicate clearly, and act creatively and live ethically since 1876. Get more information at uoregon.edu. Lane Community College transforms lives through learning. LCC provides comprehensive, accessible, high-quality educational opportunities that promote student success. For more information, visit lanecc.edu. Thank you to the City of Eugene and to Lane County for their generous support, and to our web host, 9 Planets, whose website support is critical to our functioning, making it easy to sign up as a member or to learn more about us. A quick reminder, please silence all cell phones and devices in the hall. And with that, I proudly turn the mic over to kick things off with our colleague, the coordinator of today's program, Betsy Pownell.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Betsy Pownell. I'm a member of the City Club of Eugene Program Committee. Oregon was considered a white utopia for American settlers. As a result, Oregon has a deep history of discrimination. For instance, Oregon had the nation's highest per capita Ku Klux Klan membership, and Eugene one of the strongest groups in the state. In this time of historical erasure, it has become important more than ever before in our postmodern history that we retain and maintain our cultural memory, the painful along with the not so painful. Our program today is a conversation with Talisha Brown, founder and executive director of Black Cultural Initiative, or BCI, the first Black community center, cultural hub, and business incubator created by and for the Black community. Talisha will explore the hidden history of the Black experience, how this has and continues to impact our community, the founding of BCI, and the Across the Bridge Monument project spearheaded by BCI. I want to acknowledge that there are many voices, viewpoints, opinions, many stories that make up our community. The intention of this program is to have a conversation, and my hope is that this conversation continues beyond this afternoon and is not limited to Black History Month. A conversation that engages deep curiosity and deep listening, asking the question, what is it like to be you? Talk to me, tell me your story. Talisha Brown is founder and executive director of BCI, as well as founder and producer of the Black Cultural Festival. She serves as the City of Eugene's Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee, Lane Small Business Development Center Advisory Panel, and is on the board of the Lane County Cultural Coalition. She has served on the City of Eugene Mayor's Blue Ribbon Panel on Economic Development, as well as holding many other positions in our community. Talisha, welcome. We are so grateful you're here. Is this on? Great.
Check.
We got this together. We have been working on this for 2 years. It's not working? Number 2 is not working, you guys.
Check.
Oh, there it goes.
Hello.
Okay.
Turn up the volume on number 2.
Yeah, so we've spent some time getting this together, haven't we?
Yes, I am a difficult nut to crack.
And schedules and everything, but here we are. Okay, I've got a list of questions. So, Talisha, can you briefly describe the exclusion laws, sundown policies, and the community's Ku Klux Klan membership status for our listeners who may not be aware of them?
That's a wonderful question. My introduction into this work. So I arrived in Oregon. I arrived in Eugene, I should say, in 2000. And I lived here from 2000 until 2016. And that's how long, 16 years, that it took for me to learn about this history. When I learned about this history, I went, I am embedded in this community. I have multiple communities here. I've born and raised my child and my family. And if I don't know this history after 16 years of being here, who else doesn't know this information? So I spent a number of years basically doing a lot of research and hearing lots of stories, as well as there's so many books and pieces of media that really shares this history. And so if you would like to learn more, please go tap into those pieces of history. So talking about Oregon and exclusion laws. So one thing that we know based on the Oregon Constitution, as it was opened up from Oregon becoming a territory into a state, is that there were exclusion laws on the books that basically would not allow Black people to be in this state. In fact, those laws were so severe that if a Black person was found to be here, that person was allowed to be whipped for 7 days. There was so much violence that occurred because of the allowance of that they then, in a number of years, took that particular law off the books, and they allowed Black people to come, but only under employment by a white person. So that is the culture, that is the policy that we have found ourselves here in the state of Oregon.
How do you feel that's impacted the city we know today, this history?
Really quite greatly. One of the things that we also have studied, or that I have studied, is just really recognizing the level of impact of the KKK, of the Klan, on the city of Eugene, and largely on Lane County. So if you go to the city of Eugene's Equity Atlas, so go to the city of Eugene's website, the Equity Atlas, they show that there is documented pictures of where the O is at Skinner's Butte, for example. That used to be, the symbol was the KKK. And every Friday night, they held cross burnings there in order to scare and intimidate the Black people who did live here, as well as Catholics and other cultural groups that they wanted to exclude.
And that cross was taken down in 1992, or 97, but yeah, it was a permanent cross after that.
Absolutely.
What myths about Eugene's progressive identity do you feel we need to be challenged to really understand this history?
I talked about this a couple of years ago for the City Club's Gift to the City. It's all about the brand. The city of Eugene has this reputation for being a progressive, liberal community. And those things are true. That's actually why I came to live here in Eugene. Fun fact, I moved from the Bay Area to go to college at Reed, which is in Portland. I lived in Portland for 8 years and then moved to Eugene. And I chose to live in a small town. I could have lived anywhere across the country, if not the world, right? But I chose to live in a small, liberal, progressive town that had great access to the beautiful environment that we live in. We live so close to the Ridgeline Trails, an hour away from the Oregon coast. There's so many natural amenities that we have, and I chose to live here for those reasons. So when we look at Eugene being a progressive city, and we're also faced with the fact that this was a sundown town, and that was in the 1940s and the 1950s, that basically this city had some of the greatest membership of the KKK throughout not only the state of Oregon, but also the country in the 1920s and 1930s. 4 out of 5 white men were card-carrying members of the Klan. When we look at that this was a sundown town, that people, Black people, could not reside in Eugene, that come sundown, they needed to leave. And where they lived, concentrated, was in the Across the Bridge community. And that through 3 different forms or 3 different times of eminent domain, and the time when, with the Across the Bridge community, with the Second and Mill community, with the 11th Street community, those folks were pushed away and pushed away and pushed away, so that there was no concentration of Black people such that there could be a community center. There could be community growing together. That even today, right, there are no Black grocery stores. Think about it. Where do you go for your food? If you're a Black community member and that food is not presented in a grocery store here locally, how much of that tells you that you belong, that you're welcome here, and that we want you to be here and that you can stay?
Wow. What are the biggest challenges Black residents in Eugene face today that directly tie back to early displacement and exclusion?
I want to look at a statistic, actually. So this is really looking at the racial wealth gap in numbers. So looking at hard facts. So in Oregon, white households hold a median wealth of approximately $187,000 compared to $14,000 for Black households. This statistic was taken from the Oregon Center for Public Policy in 2022. That means that for every dollar that a white household holds, Black households hold 7 cents on the dollar. That's an astounding statistic. When we look at here in Lane County, the fact that Black people were not able to purchase homes until the laws were taken off the books, excluding Black people from home ownership. There were some ways that Black people early on were able to purchase homes, usually through white people. So when we look at the way that wealth is accumulated in our nation, it's oftentimes accumulated through home ownership. And there are homes throughout this area, throughout Eugene, in which there are deeds. There are racist statements in the deeds, the document that holds your home, right, that excludes Black people from being able to own that home. And every time I've purchased a property, I've looked into those deeds. I've gotten my, high magnifying glasses and magnifiers, right, being able to see, like, was this place a place that would have excluded me in the past from living here? So far, I have not found that in the deeds as of yet, but that still exists, that redlining, and because the Black community was not big enough, they didn't necessarily have redlining, but it was in effect.
And didn't they just stop doing that, just like in 2000?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. We have some other examples of racial disparity, institutional racism you can see in specific areas, say in healthcare, education.
Absolutely. So there are so many disparities in healthcare and education. So one of the things that I know is it's actually very difficult to find a Black healthcare provider or healthcare in general, right? To find someone who is a Black doctor or a Black nurse. Why does that matter, right? We're in the I see no color world. Well, it matters because if I come in, and actually my grandfather God rest his soul, had sickle cell anemia. If I come in and I have sickle cell anemia, will a white doctor even be able to see that in my blood work, right? So having that, not only the medical information that directly ties into healthcare, but also recognizing the social and the cultural determinants of health. And that those things are actually held in community and in cultural groups. So that is one of the things that we do with BCI. We really make sure that, that we have culturally matched nurses and healthcare providers and community health workers serving our people.
I actually heard an Oregon legislator talk about how that sickle cell anemia diagnosis was missed in his family because of the
Absolutely.
lack of representation.
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned BCI. Can you talk to us about your journey creating BCI and how it's going?
Yeah, BCI has been quite a journey. So as I said, in 2016, I first learned about this history, and that was actually through the city of Eugene. They did a community convening for the Black community, really welcoming Black community members into the MEMS house, the historic MEMS house, and talking about the history and then also the placemaking that the city of Eugene was working on, and the monument, the interpretive sculpture that they are in the process of making. So when I learned this in 2016, I was like, what else do I not know? And I actually went into a very deep dive into learning and researching. I went to, Walida and Marisha. She does a really amazing talk called, you can go on YouTube, Hidden History, Why There Are No Black People in Oregon. I went into many of the various records that were available to me, and a lot of it wasn't very easy to find back then. I started to work in cohorts and really starting to teach this history as best I could, and I'm really glad to know that now there's so much more that is available to us. The city of Eugene has a contact statement that talks about the history. The Oregon Black Pioneers has done amazing record keeping. The Oregon Historical Society up in Portland, Lane County History Museum, they've held, as well as at the University of Oregon, the Museum of Natural Cultural History has held an exhibit, Racing for Change, which is by the Oregon Black Pioneers. So there's been a lot. So also Oregon State University has a pioneer. You can actually go online and see people who lived in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. You can hear their voices, and they tell their story. So I began to do this deep dive, but at the time, there wasn't a lot of information available. I was teaching the information and wanting to share it, but again, information was limited. So I'm really glad to see that that's different. The way that I came into BCI was really in 2020. I call it the tale of two travesties, right? Two pandemics. It was both the pandemic, right? The global health crisis, and also there was the murder of George Floyd. So as I had been doing so much history and placemaking and trying to understand how could I live in a place that is so racist and not know, right? I was doing a lot of travel as well. I needed to get my Black fix on. So I would travel to, where I'm from, which is San Jose, California. I would travel to Portland, Oregon, where I lived for a number of years. I would travel to Chicago, the Bay Area, Memphis, Tennessee, to spend time in community with Black people, because this place was not a place that I knew was a place of belonging and connection for Black people. And that's not true across the board. I'm just talking about my own personal experience, that I had not yet found that. And so when the murder of George Floyd happened, this fire got lit. what do I need to do? What is my role and what is my responsibility in changing what is occurring here in my own hometown, the place that I have called home? And my dear friend, Kokai no Sokere, wanted to do a Pacific Northwest book signing tour. I decided to host that for him at Alton Baker Park. And even at that point, I didn't quite know how important that time was. During that event, it was during the height and the peak of the pandemic. We were in lockdown. Do you remember that time when there were masks, right? Everyone was wearing masks and we were 6 feet away. Well, during that time, we had 100 people show up for an event that was primarily for Black people. And I went, oh, this feels wonderful. Wow. So I did what then became the prototype for the Black Cultural Festival in 2020, again in 2021, and then in 2022. And during that time, I started to ask the question, well, a one-day festival is lovely. It's a wonderful way for us to gather together. So we went from 100 people to 300 people to 650 people, more Black people that I had seen in one concentrated place. And I began to ask the question, what does year-round community engagement look like? Well, by the grace of God, we were able to purchase a 2-story office building, the People's Collective, which is centrally located here in Eugene. We were able to begin to offer classes and programs and events at our center. Our first event that we had, really a couple months after we opened our doors, was Black Santa. We thought, oh, we don't have enough time to advertise this event. We've been doing so much remodels and things like that. So what we found was an event that we expected to have just 10 or 20 or 30 people had more like 150 people show up. Our next event was our Kwanzaa celebration, in which we had 200 people show up, just a week away. And then our next event, our Black History Month event, this is back in 2024, had 250 people show up. We have continued to do the work for our community and really putting our boots on the ground and our ears to our boots on the ground and ears to really understand the needs of the community as best we can. It's not perfect. It's doing the work that really should have happened a long time ago. Someone told me a while ago that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But the second best time to plant a tree is today. So we're doing the work that should have been done years ago, right? But also it's important that that work be done today. So I'll talk about BCI's 7 core initiatives. Those 7 core initiatives are housing, food security, health and wellness, youth and family supports, economic development and community reinvestment, arts and cultural events, and finally, community resiliency and sustainability.
What a story. Talisha, is it in your history that you've started things, or is this maybe the first time you've started something like BCI?
I have to say at this moment, I have to give praise to God, who leads, guides, and directs me in all that I do. And my prayer continuously is that I can be an empty vessel and to allow the work of the Lord to come through me. I am an imperfect human being, and I have deep faith and a deep understanding of my connection. So I just wanted to say that. And also to recognize, my family. I have an amazing, amazing family that my husband, he stands by me. Everything that I do, the work that I do could not be done without him. And, my daughter as well. I have a really great and solid, close-knit group of friends who supports the work that I do. So I just wanted to say that first and foremost. I do start things, you could call it I'm a quad Gemini. I really enjoy creative projects. I think that one of the benefits of having gone to Reed, a small liberal arts college, I'm saying 1,200 students, right? I went to a college that had 1,200 students. The process of going through a senior thesis, of doing project-based work has really programmed my brain for taking large projects and being able to separate them into various things to work on. And I'm also very disciplined and a hard worker. And I think that that's one of the things that folks don't recognize is, I'm really oftentimes putting in 60 or 80 hours in order to make this work, right? Especially in the founding. And I know that that can look really daunting to some. I just do the work, right? And I have family that helps to support me in a strong community. But I do like to start things. I have, started up and run a nonprofit. I've started up and run festivals. I have engaged with community in many different facets. I've started up and run, a very successful, before I retired from the role of as a massage therapist, I actually had a business for 22 years that was solid income for me and my family. I've worked with, many businesses, solar electric contracting businesses, food service businesses, to really not just looking at my business, but also looking at how do we support and sustain many different businesses across various sectors. BCI itself has about we support over 55 Black-owned businesses currently. And another statistic that I would actually love to share that I'm really proud about is that since our founding in 2023, BCI has reinvested over $900,000 in our local Black community.
Wow. That is incredible.
So we're really proud of the work that we do.
Yeah. There's just so much humility and strength in what you're doing. I really appreciate the work you're doing. And I was going to ask, what's the impact? How is BCI impacting the Black community? I mean, you sort of just answered it, but how else?
There's a lot there. There's, having a space where people can gather is really important. We had our barbecue fish fry, for example. It's a block party. And we had over 700 people attend it in August. Having those places where people can gather, where they can mingle, is important. Having places where children can get to know one another. I love the fact that we actually offer, we have a kids room, and we offer free childcare for all of our classes and programs and events. I love the fact that the children feel connected in to the space and also to one another. Also, we do a lot of work around community and economic development. So we are doing work to not only as a business incubator and providing coaching and mentorship for Black-owned businesses. We're also making sure that economic development happens so that people can be involved and get involved in empowerment around resumes and interviews, learning about how to use Google Workspace. How do you use QuickBooks, so we're doing those kind of foundational pieces that helps to build up individuals so that they can support their families and so that they can support the community, which then supports all of us. So community and economic development is a really big part of the work that we do. We also do a lot around youth and families. We're really looking forward to launching this summer our Youth Entrepreneurial Academy and having youth learn about financial literacy, about how to build your business, having those coaches and mentors who can really lead them in building the next generation, right? So there's a lot of things that we do. We also have a healthcare initiative. We have hired a full-time registered nurse who serves our people. So she works both in our drop-in health center at the center, or drop-in health clinic at the center. She also goes into people's homes. She goes into rehab facilities and into hospitals, making sure that folks and their needs are taken care of, right? And our community health workers. So those are a number of the things that we do in order to support a more holistic and well community.
Yeah, sounds like it's really been a positive impact. Okay. Can you describe the Across the Bridge Monument Project, the response you've gotten from the community and the city, and what was involved in it? What's it been like working on it?
The project has been, it's been 3 years in the making, and we are looking forward to having the monument actually erected and having the unveiling happen in September of 2026. So that is this year.
That's awesome.
This project started when Lane County History Museum wanted to do a monument project and to really look at all the monuments throughout Lane County and to look at how representative are those monuments for our current citizens. And what Irene Rashid and Dr. Lawrence Rashid found was that there were no monuments that recognized the pioneer, the founding families and individuals, including Wiley Griffin. Like there was a real gap in who was being represented in the monuments throughout Lane County. So we're happy to know that there is at the LTD station a placard for Wiley Griffin, who was the first person to develop the LTD track. So you'll see a placard for him in the train station, in the bus station. And we also want to give a lift or acknowledgement for the historic Mims house, the house that still exists, that is where Black people, the Mims family, lived and resided, and also is a historic representation of the community that they were able to cultivate while they lived in their home. There's a beautiful stone placemaker as well as placards honoring the 5 founding Black pioneer families who lived there in the 1940s and the 1950s. So I just want to share that.
What kind of support are you getting from the community, from other stakeholders?
Thank you so much. I lost track. So as we did that work, we were convening with the Springfield History Museum, and was a number of Black community members who were welcomed in. And one community member said to the group, if I had known that there were Black people who lived here, that would have made all the difference to me. And I know that feeling when a fire gets lit up inside of me. I must act. And so I didn't necessarily want to take on a monument project, but that's what I've done. So it's 3 years in the making. We have a miniature version of the monument over there. We also have a display board, in connection with, in collaboration with the City of Eugene, Lane County, Oregon Community Foundation, Travel Oregon, University of Oregon, LCC, eWeb. So a broad group of collaborators who are working on this project together to erect a monument. And we've done the placemaking as well as the location, the exact zoning for the monument. So it's been quite a project, and I'm just looking forward to getting it in the ground in Lane County. The other piece is, we're now at the stage where the art is completely done. Our artist, who is Percy of Howe, he's a beautiful sculptor who lives in West Eugene, did the sculpture for it. He is from Ghana in West Africa and lives and resides here. So he finished the actual art piece of it, and so now the full-size monument, which will be bronzed, right? So it'll go from, 50, 100 pounds to 1,000 pounds as it gets bronzed, right? So we're glad that that monument and the art piece of it is now complete, and that it is at the foundry where it can do the pieces to get it completed and put in the ground.
Well, it's an amazing project, and I know that when I go to Alton Baker, now that I know the history, it's a completely different experience than it was before I knew the history. Like, I walk through the forest, there's a little cement thing in the ground, and I wonder if that was a foundation of somebody's house versus some weird eWeb thing. It's really, really incredible. How about one more question? Talk to us about diversity. Yeah, what is important? What's important about diversity? How can we attract diversity in our community? And I think we're just about ready to stop, so. Oh, okay, great. So, yeah.
Diversity. That's a big loaded conversation, right? A big loaded word. How do we attract diversity? I think first and foremost, how we attract diversity is by having multiple voices in the room, multiple stories, multiple conversations. There is not one person or one family or one community or cultural group that can hold all of the diversity of stories that exist here. So even looking at the City Club of Eugene and how it's nice to be here in this seat, I would love to have other Black people in this seat. Folks who are not me. That is important for our narrative and our story to be told. When we look at, things like livability, I know that, one of the lofty goals that BCI has is that we are focused on not only attracting Black people to this area, but even more importantly, to retain Black people in this area. We are, as a community, bleeding talent. That's not just for Black and brown people, that's for all of us. Because somewhere in that metric of livability is not just housing and affordable housing. It's not just being able to have a clean place to live. It's not just having good employment. Somewhere in the boxes that people check is cultural diversity. And we have to stop bleeding talent. We have to make this a place where people want to come and who want to stay. And one of the things that, is, I said this years ago at the City of Eugene, the mayor's Blue Ribbon panel on economic development. I said, Eugene is in danger of becoming a ghost town. And now, economists are saying exactly that. We're actually at negative population growth right now. And so we need to look at that not when the problem is happening, but before the problem has occurred, right? And there are so many people, and because of the seat that I am in, I hear from lots of different people in our community, white, brown, Asian, Latino, who say, I would love to stay in Eugene, but I need to have more cultural diversity in my life. So again, we are bleeding human beings and talent from this area. I myself, my daughter is 22. For 3 years, she traveled around the world. And my agreement with her is when you land on a place in the world, it has to be sunny, and it has to have really beautiful Black and brown people who live there. I'm so lucky that now this winter is the first time in 3 years that she has lived in Eugene, and she's found her place. But it is actually in the Cuban salsa community. We need to make sure to have places and spaces of diversity where people can gather, people can connect, and where people can see one another. And so that's also one of the reasons why I'm on the Downtown Arts District Committee, to really work on hopefully creating a healthy and vibrant and alive downtown district.
Thank you so much, Talisha Brown. Before we begin our audience Q&A, and great questions, really showing the variety of topics that pertain to the work you do. Before we begin our Q&A, a special thank you to our award-winning public radio station, KLCC, for airing City Club programs on Mondays at 7 p.m. In the metro area of Lane County, they broadcast on 89.7 FM and in Florence on 88.1 FM. For those listening at home or in transit right now, your household is one of several thousand tuning into the City Club of Eugene on KLCC. We're grateful and honored to have every one of you. You can also find all recent City Club programs archived at klcc.org, as well as on our YouTube channel and the City Club of Eugene podcast. I'm also pleased to announce that the City Club membership has officially elected my successor. In the president-elect position, we were pleased to see the election of our board member, Alyssa Gilbert. She has been a stalwart advocate for our homeless neighbors, an exceptionally capable contributor to our program committee, and upon the completion of my term within the coming months, I can think of no one better than Alyssa to help keep the club strong, responsive, and moving forward. So we will have Please think of some wonderful questions, and we'll have a short break before returning for the questions for Talisha Brown.
Okay, everybody. Hello. Hello. We're going to start questions now. If anybody has a question they'd like to ask Talisha, please go ahead and line up, and we will have some questions for our honored guest. So go ahead, Molly.
Good afternoon. My name is Molly Goulet. I'm a tenant attorney in Eugene, and you had mentioned that one of the program areas that UCI addresses is housing. And we all know that housing is a challenge in Eugene in any circumstance. My specific question is, do you have any suggestions for the city in terms of specifically the renters' protections that are being considered? Are there things that you think would help Black people in Eugene have more secure housing? And then just in general, are there changes that you would like to see?
Okay. Check. Oh, yes. Okay. That's a big question. So I'll do my best to answer or to remember what the pieces are. Housing is essential. What I have found is that if you are a person who does not have secure housing, it's really difficult to tackle other aspects of your life. It's really difficult to live, if you're in survival mode, it's difficult to also thrive. It's difficult to bring your gifts. It's difficult to take care of your children. If you are focused on affordable housing, and that's really one of the things that we're seeing, is that the city of Eugene essentially needs to raise the number of housing units by 70% in order to really tackle the housing production problem here in our area. So I'm on the City of Eugene's Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee, really looking at how do we increase the amount of housing and the housing production long term. And so in 20 years, like I said, the city needs to increase housing by 70%. One of the things that we know is that Black and brown people, everyone experiences challenges in affordable housing across the board. It's especially challenging for Black and brown people who are faced with the product of redlining, the product of not having home ownership, of having higher numbers of renters, right? And in that is also, when you rent, also working with landlords who might discriminate against you. So we also know that Black people and brown people are unfairly discriminated against in their housing and have more legal issues, more questions attached to their housing. So one of the things that BCI is doing is focused on housing. We're actually starting up a tenant education program that will provide a way for individuals to learn about how to have good housing, how do you keep and maintain a place, how do you have relationships and have expectations of your landlords, right? And also providing supports in terms of direct rental assistance. So those are the things that we're doing in order to support additional resources for our community group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rowan, and I have kind of two questions. Could I get a list of all the websites and books so I could read it over the summer? Oh, sorry. Could I get a list of the websites and books that you were talking about before?
Okay, wow, that's quite a comprehensive list. So first and foremost, I would say go to the City of Eugene's Equity Atlas. You can get on your phone and get that popped up immediately. That is a list or stories not just for Black people, but also Indigenous people of the area. So that's one thing. I would also say to go to YouTube, go to Walida Imarisha's hidden history, why there are no Black people in Oregon. That's a really important and comprehensive storytelling around the history and the legacy of Black people throughout this state, right? And over 100 or more year time period. So that's another resource that I would recommend. There's also, again, at Oregon State University, there is the Black Pioneers exhibit that is online. You can tap in and hear the direct voices of Oregon Black pioneers.
Okay, that works. I was going to ask for a physical list, but I can just go back through the recording. And the second one, this question is kind of stupid, but when you said ghost town, did you mean that everybody would leave, or there would be like all white people?
So I was talking about a sundown town, and so basically Black people could not live in Eugene, and come sundown they needed to move outside of the city limits. Now, one thing we have to remember is that the city limits has expanded to quite a bit more than it was back in those days. So the boundary was really quite small, and that incorporated the area around the Across the Bridge community and along the Willamette River.
I was talking about how you said in the future Eugene would be a ghost town in the second half.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. It's a reflection.
Okay, thank you.
So you have an expansive vision for the future of BCI, and I heard, about the goals. Can you talk a little bit about how, like in the next 5 years, what is your vision, and what do you really need from the larger community to manifest that vision?
Thank you. So BCI has been a part of, and it's always been a 10-year plan for me. So the first 3 years are to understand what the needs of the community are and to do those things. The next 3 years, the years that we are in now, is to stabilize and to build the systems and the infrastructure. Then the final 3 years, which is where we're entering, is to create sustainability so that I and other people can do the work for the nonprofit. So
how do we connect to that as a community? Do we go to your website? Do we sign up for a newsletter? Like, how can we be there to support you?
yeah, so the best way to connect in is just to go to www.blackculturalinitiative.org. You can go to our newsletter, and that's one of the best ways to connect in with the work that we do. People who sign up for our newsletter are usually very amazed, very excited to be a part of the community and to build and help to support the community, but also are really amazed by the work that we do because it is really so comprehensive. So you can sign up for our newsletter, you can show up and volunteer, you can donate. All of those things you can access via our website.
Thank you.
Charlie Quinn, City Club member since 2002. To follow up on that question, as a fundraiser in town, I'm always encouraging people to donate, but there's also a lot of people who are interested in actually investing in Black-owned businesses. And do you provide a way for people to do that?
That's a really great question. So over the winter holiday, we actually had a winter gift giving guide, and that was a way for community members for their winter gift giving, their Christmas shopping, to actually support and to elevate Black-owned businesses. So that's one of the things. And we're also a business incubator, so supporting and highlighting those businesses is really important. I would like to circle around too on our website having more information about those businesses, and you can always call and ask if there are particular services or resources that you're looking for. Also, Lane County has done a diverse business directory. That's another way to tap into Black, Asian, Latino businesses in our local area. So yes, we need to support our businesses and our communities of color. Entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to build wealth in addition to home ownership. So that's why BCI really focuses on those core initiatives.
Hi, Lorna Flormo with the City of Eugene Office of Equity and Community Engagement. Hi, Talisha. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to let folks know that at the Holt Center this month, during Black History Month, along with their musical of the life of Tina, the musical Tina, they are also going to have our local Black History display up in the Soaring Theater lobby, so anybody can go and see that, and there's a lot more that would build on what Talisha shared with us today. And then Talisha, I'm curious what you think sort of is a practical thing, that being that there's so many white people in Eugene, we know from the history, what are practical everyday things that folks can do to help create a more culturally inclusive community of belonging for people of color?
Yeah, practical everyday things, right? So how do we put this thinking into practice? I think that supporting organizations is really important. We have our local branch of the NAACP. We have, yes, thank you. We have Black youth. We have Blacks in government. There's Honey. There's so many organizations that BCI is partnered and works with that I want to make sure to highlight and to talk about those organizations that also have a story to tell. And I hope that, again, the City Club of Eugene can talk, about those organizations and have a way for those organizations to be highlighted. So that is one thing. I think that also just awareness, how are we raising our children? How are we in this world? When we see something is happening, do we act or do we walk away, right? So for me, my daughter is 22, when I recognized when she was 9 years old that she was being raised in a predominantly white city and did not have a multicultural, multilingual background, I actually pulled her out, to go to Belize for many, many weeks to really understand what we have here is one place, but people live differently throughout the world. And it's really important to share that with our youth, to make our youth more of a global citizen, to have them go to different places in the world, to also share cultures with them. It's really important to sit with people who don't look like you, who don't speak your language, and to get to know those people.
Betsy, we're running a little low on time, but if we can get a few more quick questions, then I think we can do it.
Quick questions.
All right.
Okay.
Joel Corin, City Club member since 2012. Is there a specific Black neighborhood in Eugene? And if not, would you talk about the advantages and disadvantages of a specific neighborhood, and would you support that?
So, again, through those 3 minutes, through the 3 different times that eminent domain was put into place. So I talked about the first time with Across the Bridge. What I also want to say with the Second and Mill community. So again, go to the City of Eugene and the Equity Atlas. The city has documented that work. That at Second and Mill, which is now where Parkview Terrace is located, that was initially a place where, of the 12 homes who lived in that region, in that area, 9 of them were Black households. It's not by accident, right? It's not by accident that over and over and over again, when there was the opportunity for neighbors to form community, that those communities were dispersed. It was very intentional, and it was successful. To this day, there is no Black neighborhood. There's no Black grocery stores. There's, until BCI, really no place where people could gather in large numbers. So it's very impactful when people are not allowed to gather, to find places and spaces of belonging and unity and connection together. I want to again highlight the historic Mims House and the work that they have done, you know, to create that placemaking in the 1940s and the 1950s and on. They were actually a place where Black people could gather, and also a place where, you know, when people were traveling, Black people were traveling, they were able to find home and refuge in the historic Mims House. So I just want to highlight that we're not the first, and hopefully not the last, to do this work.
Thank you. I think, are we done, Thomas? Okay, quick question.
Very quick. I'm concerned about a great deal what I consider documented misinformation you've provided about Oregon's so-called racist history. For example, Wiley Griffin was a beloved citizen in our community, and he died in 1913 as a homeowner. And a year before he died, he said, "There's no place I'd rather live than Eugene, Oregon." So many, in the early 20th century, many Blacks have lived as residents of Eugene. And you said Eugene's a sundown town, which it wasn't. Did all these people leave their homes at sunset and come back in the morning? Thank you.
I appreciate your opinion. Thank you for your time.
And one more question. Talisha, you've spoken recently about grocery stores, but really as a person of color in the community, I think cuisine can be a really big part of having enough gathering spaces. And so I remember working at a hotel where people would come in and say, "Where's the soul food at?" And I did not have anywhere to point them because Papa's had closed. What role do you think food plays in trying to keep that retention you were talking about?
Oh, it's an important piece. Very, very essential. And I'm only laughing because me and my family, we are foodies. So we go and we support our cuisine. I have, like, for every cultural group, like, my favorite cuisine in the area. So, Yardie Rum Bar, right? So Isaiah Martinez of Yardie Rum Bar, which is just down the street, has been noted as one of the top 50 restaurants in the country by the New York Times. Ooh. Top 50 by the New York Times. So that's a really important place. There's Stirred, right? Stirred, which is out in Springfield, curbside kitchen. There's Mexican and Latino restaurants that I love to go to. One of my favorite is Memos and Mommy's, right? So I can give you a whole rundown of the restaurants. And cuisine is essential because when people come to visit, actually I was just in Portland, you know, they said, "Oh, I'm going to be in Eugene for a full week." The only thing, when I asked, "How can I help you?" the only thing that they asked me was, "Can you tell me where to eat?" Food is life. It's continuity, it's connection. There's a reason why we always congregate in the kitchens, right? So cuisine is essential to a people.
Well, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. Please join me in thanking the founder and executive director of the Black Cultural Initiative, Talisha Brown. This has been our February 6, 2026 conversation at the City Club of Eugene. I have some brief announcements, so bear with me. For those in the hall today on Friday, there's also a Wow Hall event later today at 7 p.m. called Black Comes to Eugene. It celebrates Black History Month with Eric Richardson and friends. And if you're hearing this on the radio on Monday, you probably missed it. But that's all the more reason to supplement your listening with our in-person forums on the previous Fridays. And it's a really fun thing to listen to both, I think. We will be taking a holiday next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks here at Wow Hall in downtown Eugene next Friday, February 13th. Let me make sure I get that right for the radio. It's not the 13th. It is going to be the 20th. I can do math. All right. Here in downtown Eugene on Friday, February 20th at noon. That program is called Support for Children and Families, the Foster Care System. It's sure to be a great forum, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you all. Have a great weekend or week, and we'll see you next time at City Club.